Cool. And you were very instrumental in, one of the communication terms we use at Peltarion, which is operational AI. What do you think of, or how would you describe what operational AI is?
Well, it's an important distinction. Operationalizing AI, that means to have AI in production. Actually having AI models that deliver value in an organization, in a product that does the work, helps amplifying the sound or identifying something, as opposed to doing research or a proof of concept project.
And we've spoken about the prototype graveyard a number of times before, and I think that's a classical counter-example, I guess, of what we don't want to do or don't want to do. I mean, you have so many companies claiming that they are using AI. They're claiming that they have a great value, and they even perhaps built a prototype that can show that, but very, very few actually can put it in production to provide true value. Right?
Yeah. And the whole idea, of course, is that if you don't have the mindset, then now we come to a T-shirt from Luca. If you don't commit to deploy, put it in production, you're actually not understanding the full 360 view of what you need to do. I mean, from a tech point of view, we have clear, to do a prototype or to do something in a sample environment is way different than to make it work production-wise in an enterprise. And even, try to sell it, get the legal aspects right. So if you don't have the mindset to commit to deploy, to go to production, you're only scratching. You're not really understanding what your new company or what your new setup is all about.
Yeah,
and I think it's in this, what Peltarion is doing to also basically focusing on actually this topic that go faster here that is most important, because it's not only that you get value from our stuff, but it's actually now you're really becoming data and AI ready for real.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, I came from a world of agency world, consultancy world, where user experience and end value was everything. How do we change something? And then we figured out the way there. And when I started working at Peltarion with Anders and a lot of researchers, I mean, I had never worked at academia or proper researchers. It was kind of a clash for me to understand that a goal and time plan, that's not prioritized concepts always. And I've come to understand the value also of having that freedom to push the edge and explore things, and how hard it is to get those two things together, because you need to be able to explore. But if you don't deliver ever, what's the value? And vice versa. If you only look at
small increments,
you're only going to do a faster and faster horse, always. But there's been so many times in Peltarion and outside Peltarion where someone has come, look, I've got this great idea. And I've asked, so what's this used for?
Exactly.
And the answer is, no, but it's interesting. Okay. But then after a conversation, we usually end up in, it can be used for this. That's fantastic. And maybe that's not the job of the researcher always.
Awesome. And before we move into the next topics here, it would be fun to hear also your story into AI Sweden. And, we've both been included in that from Peltarion's side, and you're now focused even more in AI Sweden. And can you just tell the story a bit there, how that came to happen?
Oh, wow. Well, early on, it was on the back of our meetings with the politicians. We came into contact with Mikael Ljungblom, who worked for one of our ministers, the Minister of Housing and Digitization, which is
that weird combination.
fun portfolio. And then Mats Nordlund, who's with Senseact now. And they started talking about building a national AI center, and we worked with them a lot. And then Peltarion was a founding partner of AI Sweden and involved in a lot of projects. And then this summer, I took a leave of absence from Peltarion and joined AI Sweden.
Oh, so now you're there full time?
Yeah.
As a leave of absence.
Yeah.
And what's your role in AI Sweden?
I work in one area that's called Major Impact Initiatives, a very pretentious sounding name.
Major Impact Initiative. What's the acronym? MIA.
MIA.
Missing in action.
Missing
MIA.
action.
Yeah.
Initiative.
No, but it's projects that have very broad impact over a lot of different various players.
Could you give an example?
Yeah, I work mostly now on Swedish healthcare, trying to. We have a lot of projects, but the umbrella is a major impact initiative where we focus on trying to shift Swedish healthcare towards digitally data-driven healthcare that can customize healthcare and go from symptom treatment to healthcare proper.
And what's an ingredient in a major impact area? What is it? A plan? Is it an investment? It's people? What's the ingredients we're talking about?
The main ingredient, I would say, is the collaboration between different parties who come with different knowledge and understanding. And it's also an initiative that has made different healthcare regions and municipalities in Sweden start to work together and find.
So it's coordinating and project planning and getting like collaboration needs quite a lot of orchestration.
Yeah, and facilitating investment as well.
Well, perhaps we need to explain what AI Sweden is. I guess there are some people that don't know exactly what they do, and it's not super easy sometimes to understand all the different initiatives that we have in Sweden for trying to work with AI. How would you describe what the mission or vision with AI Sweden is?
The main mission of AI Sweden is to accelerate applied AI in Sweden.
Right.
As opposed to WASP, for instance, who's focusing a lot of advancing super advanced AI research and other programs.
So in short, you could say trying to accelerate operationalizing AI?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's obviously why Peltarian is such an important partner, and many others.
And what do they do to make that happen? I mean, they have received a lot of funding now. I think it's many hundred millions of crowns, right? And it's been, I think, one of the best initiatives that we've seen for a real long time in really trying to help the Swedish economy and society to move forward. But why do you think it has worked that well for AI Sweden? Do you have any idea of what the success story or the ingredients for making that happen is really?
I think the main success, there are several different value propositions, from education to being able to share data, to access to processing power and collaboration projects, focusing on joint problems. And I would say the main ingredient is the collaboration bit, because very few companies in orgs have the muscles or financials to take on an investment by themselves.
I certainly agree, and I think the fragmentation that we are seeing in Sweden and in Europe even more, I would say, is really detrimental and hurting, what we otherwise potentially could do. So I think these kind of efforts is crucial to actually do collaborate more, and perhaps not to have too pretentious goals like we will build the best courses. No, perhaps we can coordinate and help, finding, who can actually do this the best way, and then be like a stamp of approvals, certification.
Svanenmärkt. AI, yeah.
And also I think that's a very important thing. We don't need to be best. It's not super sympathetic to be best, is it? Because if you're best, other people are worse. Shouldn't you try to strive to be as good as everyone else and help everyone reach the same level?
Yeah.
And trying to invent the wheel yourself is not probably very few times the best idea. It's better to use. Yeah.
Cool. And what would you say the main focus of AI Sweden today is? There are a number of big data factory, etc. But if you were to give an overview for people to see, what are they working with today? How would you describe that?
There are a number of different collaboration projects, AI-driven mobility, identifying where AI can help mobility of logistics and people in Sweden the best, changing healthcare, as I spoke about.
All the nodes, perhaps? Or?
Yeah, and working spread out across Sweden to facilitate collaboration. And
how many nodes are there now? 6 nodes?
I think there's 6 or 7 nodes.
Yeah. So it's one.
And what's a node?
Node is a local office.
A local office?
Yeah. So we have a local physical office.
And is it a difference what is focused on in the different local offices, or what they do compared to the central part?
Slightly different
Or is it
depending
just-
on, I think it just skews a little bit towards what industry is present in that part of Sweden,
So Node can also have a closeness to the what type of industry is there. So we have collaborations in automotive in some parts of Sweden.
Yeah, in Volvo and Gothenburg, for instance, it's kind of natural, because they're sitting close.
And who is part of AI Sweden?
Oh, a lot. We have over 100 partners right now, both companies and public organizations.
So it's a mix of what? Corporations, so to speak?
Yeah.
And then, expert consultancies or as well as sort of the big enterprises. So who's the corporation?
Big enterprises, startups, consultancy firms, public sectors, hospitals, academia, most of the universities, cities, research labs from big enterprises.
And this sounds great. So what's the entry ticket to be part of the family?
Yeah, it varies. Same model as similar initiatives like Art Park in India. If you are a big enterprise like Ericsson, you pay an annual fee.
It's like subscription.
Yeah, like subscription.
You're sponsoring.
Fee. Yeah, and it's a mix usually of pure money and hours that you spend into
actively
projects. Yeah, and if you're a startup, it's usually all in kind, only hours. Because we have to take into consideration that they don't have the same financials.
So you can be part of the AI Sweden, not only financially, but you can actually invest your time.
Yes, exactly.
For a startup.
Yeah. And usually that comes when you also apply, when you receive a grant, you usually also get money, but you have to put in some yourself.
Yes, exactly.
And I think some companies don't understand the purpose or the added value or what you actually gain by joining. But as Paltorn has been part of that for a long time, to actually have someone and working together with, for example, AI Sweden to do applications to Vinnova or EU applications or finding other partners, having that stamp of approval in some sense, and actually getting the information saying you should probably talk to these people, or you should probably apply for that, or you should do this and that, and then that coming from AI Sweden, it brings up so much more authority, so to speak, when doing that. So I hope people understand, that this is a big added value.
It is a big added value, and it's also. I would say also there's another important dimension. It's very hard if you're in an organization, be it private or public, to pick up the phone and call another company and ask for help or advice. It's very challenging for your pride and ego. So we also offer a neutral collaboration space where things are kind of allowed.
I mean, for so many companies that they don't have that network and they don't know who to speak to and who not to speak to potentially. So yeah, I wish more people understood the greatness of AI Sweden. It's certainly doing a lot to help in Sweden, I think.
And we've also come a long way. I mean, it's only been 2 years.
Yeah.
So I think we're doing great things right now.
And may I ask you, how big is the organization?
Oh, wow. I think I have no idea right now. I would guess between 30 and 40 people.
But that's a central part, right?
Yeah, the central
part, and it's ultimately funded by?
50-50 by the state via Vinnova and our partners.
And then the partner, like subscriptions, stuff like this.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I know a number of things you have a passion for, which is, for one, AI in education, for example. And I think you are the single person that actually brought elements of AI to Sweden, right? Or you're too humble to say that?
No, okay. If I put my humbleness aside, I would just have to say yes to that. Yeah.
Can you just talk a bit more about, how did that happen? And for people, perhaps explain
what is elements of AI. What is elements as well?
Elements of AI is a free online course in basic online understanding of AI that came out of Finland, out of the University of Helsinki, and a big consultancy firm called Reactor. And I don't remember what year. I think it was 3.5 years ago.
Yeah, something like this.
Yeah, the Swedish government gave 20 or 25 million to our big universities to increase awareness and create education packages for engineers in Sweden, basically, or for professionals. And I knew about this course in Finland. So I called Ville at Reactor, who I had been in contact with, and asked him, could we copy it to Sweden? And he said, yeah, sure. And then I spoke to Mats Nordlund, who was one of the founders of AI Sweden. And he said, yeah, that's a great idea. He had called this person at Chalmers, and I called someone at KTH. And they were a little bit lukewarm about the idea.
Was that the other initiative that you spoke of, and you didn't
we
say
will
the
do
name,
it better
but,
ourselves.
A little bit maybe. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Maybe that connects to wanting to do it yourself and losing. Okay, what are we going to do then?
Yeah, exactly.
But then Fredrik Heinz from Linköping University, he jumped on board straight away and kind of snatched the ball under their you snooze, you lose.
That's it.
And then we incorporated into AI Sweden and launched it. And now I think 40,000 people in Sweden have taken the courses and been examinated. And there's over 10 countries in the EU translated into different countries. So I think it's a very good.
So it has started to grow as one of these, I wouldn't say de facto standards, but I would say it's one of the most spread now starting points to learn AI.
Yeah, it is a really good starting point. Yeah.
And it's very well done. So I took it myself. I think it was genius.
Yeah, and that's all that credit goes to Reactor in Finland. But and I think that goes back to what you said, curating what already exists. If that's good, use it again.